My name is Hope. I am 9 years old. I live with my mom, but I don't see her much because she's always with James. He and my mom fight, but she still spends all of her time with him. When she's here, it's like she's not here. I came home from school and Mom was with James. I asked her for something to eat and he told me to shut up. Mom told him not to talk to me that way and they started to fight. I went to my room, but I could hear them yelling. The police came to my door. They started to ask me questions. I didn't know what to say. They looked around the apartment. They talked to the neighbors. A woman came and packed some stuff into a garbage bag and said I had to go with her. I was afraid. Why are they taking me from my mom? We pulled up to a shelter. A nice lady asked me my name and took me to a room where there were 3 other girls. But I felt so alone. During breakfast, everyone was kind of quiet, but I did make a friend, Jasmine. She told me that someone came to her school and asked her a lot of questions about her dad. She told me her dad would come in her room at night and do bad things to her. She wouldn't look at me. She said she told one of her teachers because it hurt. I met Allison. She told me it wasn't safe for me to live with my mom and I would have to live in a different place for a while. They said I would have to go to court later that day. I started to cry. I didn't know what was happening or why. We went to a big building. I could see lots of people. One of them was my mom. I hugged her so tight, I didn't want to let go. There were lots of adults talking about me. The judge took me to her office. She told me that she was here to help me and my mom so that we can be safe and that I would be able to go back home, but Mom had to take care of some things first. Allison took me to a nice house. Inside, I met Nancy. Allison told me she would visit me and help me while I was there. There was another girl staying in the house too. She was the same age as me. Her name was Bianca. She seemed sad all the time. She missed her brother and sister. They went to live with their aunt, and since Bianca had a different father, she couldn't go live with them. I had to go to a different school, and I was nervous. A teacher walked me to my class and introduced me to all the kids. I could feel them all staring at me. No one talked to me. Each day seemed longer and longer. What's going to happen to me? Where's my mom? I see a therapist twice a week. She told me that the judge put Mom on something called a case plan, and that if she did everything on the plan, that I would be able to go home with her. Sometimes I see my mom in her office, but sometimes she doesn't come. I wait for her, I think about her. I can't even concentrate in school. It's been 3 months. I came home from school today and Allison was waiting for me. She told me that I would have to leave Nancy's house. I didn't want anything else to change, but I didn't have a say. Allison took me to another house that I didn't like. I was afraid. Mr. and Mrs. Jones' home was kind of dirty. I told Allison I didn't want to stay. Something didn't feel right there, but she said to give it a chance. I went to my new school with Allison the next day, and it was the same thing all over again. The kids started to laugh at me. They called me foster kid and some other names, but all I could think about was when I would see my mom again and wonder if she would even show up. I went to court again. I told the judge I was sad in my new house and that the other kids were mean to me. The judge told me that my mom was trying her best, but she still had some work to do before I could go home with her. My mom came in the room and said she was sorry she hadn't come to see me those few times. She said that James was in jail and she would be going to a hospital because she was sick, but when she got out, we could be together again. Mr. and Mrs. Jones hardly ever talked to me or the other kids that live here. When they did, it was to yell at us. One day, I told Allison about it. She said she would find me another place to stay. That night, Mr. and Mrs. Jones were extra mean to me. They took my blanket off my bed and I was so cold. They didn't give me any dinner. I was all alone. I really wished I could hug my mom. No one ever hugged me anymore. One day, I came home from school and there was a new woman at the house. She said her name was Kelly and she was my guardian ad litem. She seemed very nice and smiled a lot. I couldn't remember the last time I saw anyone around me smile. We talked for a long time. She made me feel safe, and I didn't want her to leave. The next week, Kelly picked me up from school and took me to get pizza and to the park. She helped me do my homework. She made me feel special. When we went to court, she told the judge that she thought I wasn't happy at my foster home. She just knew how I felt. My grades were not good, and I was always getting sick, and she said that Mr. and Mrs. Jones were not very nice. Kelly told me to tell the truth about what I felt. I told the judge everything, and she was very mad. That night, Kelly and Allison took me back to the shelter, and I stayed there for the next 2 months. Things started to get better after Kelly came along. She called me almost every day, and when she visited me, she always said goodbye and gave me a big hug. I made friends with kids who were going through the same thing as me, and I felt kind of happy, even though I missed my mom. But I saw her more and more at the therapist's office, and sometimes we would go to eat burgers or to the park, just the two of us. Sometimes Kelly came too. When I went back to the courthouse, I was nervous. Then I saw my mom. She looked so happy. I sat in the same room as always. This time, everyone was so excited. She said I would be able to go home with her that day, and that from now on, she would always take care of me. When we got to our old neighborhood, our neighbors threw us a welcome home party. That night, I had the best sleep I had in a long time. And in the morning, my mom made me breakfast and walked with me to school. Things were so much better. Kelly even came by and visited with us too. I'll never forget how things changed once she was in my life. It's like she gave me myself back. She gave me hope.